In this episode, I'm going to introduce you to someone who adversity became their superpower, and they're going to teach you how you can do the same thing. Imagine being born with a limb difference, being raised by a parent who is a drug addict, losing a child. Chris Welton went on to build a multi-million-dollar brand. He's a coach, he has a podcast, he has a best-selling book, and he just walked off stage from a TED Talk event. This guy is going to blow your mind with his story, and get a pen and paper out because he's going to give you the playbook on how to build your brand in a way that stands out and makes you different from everyone else. I want to jump into the first things first. You just walked off a TED Talk stage. So congratulations on that, man. I mean,
Thank you.
what was that experience like?
Man, I tell you what, it was way more challenging than I thought it was gonna be. The first part is getting used to the rejection because getting on a TED Talk stage is really tough. We applied at 13 TED Talks over about a 90-day period, and we got rejected 11 times. We got a phone call accepting us to go on this one in Baltimore, and then about 10 minutes later, got a message we were rejected from the last one. So it was one out of 13. And I speak on stages all over the country. I've got a lot of experience speaking over the last several years. So I wasn't intimidated by the speaking portion until they started defining everything for me. And what was interesting is they're very critical on your messaging
Hmm.
to the point of you just send them everything before you go to get on stage. They have to prove it. It's all got to be
Wow.
approved. And then if you differentiate from it on stage, they won't release it. So
Even if it's
there's
still,
no,
even if it's what they consider appropriate, they still will just, you went off script. This is a scripted
yeah, I
conversation.
mean, you have you have a little bit of a buffer there, but
Yeah.
it's no slides, nothing to keep you on track. It's memorization, which I don't ever have a speech memorized. Like when I get on stage, I have bullet points and I just kind of go where the audience flows. So it was very intimidating getting up to that point, and to the point of I checked in there at 10:45 on that Sunday morning,
Hmm.
sat in the audience and watched them over and over again. I had a couple people with me. My video guy that travels with me was there documenting everything. I wasn't going to go on stage until 4 o'clock. So at 3, I went and sat in the rental car to try to just go through everything. And at 3 o'clock, I'd forgotten everything. I couldn't
Oh,
remember the first. I couldn't remember the first line, Chris. So I was like, okay, let's just relax, breathe for a little bit. I gave myself about 10 minutes to think about nothing, just meditated. And I told myself, okay, at 3:15, if you don't have it, you're going to call your guys and tell them to come on, we're leaving because we're not going to get on stage and blow this up. 3:15, it came out. That was good. I'm like, okay, no more practice. We're done. Went out there and they called me on stage and I went and did it. And I stuck on about, I'd say the first 80% was exactly what it was supposed to be. The last 20%, I strayed a little bit. But
yeah.
once I was done, so relieved. I was like, oh my gosh, right?
I can only imagine.
Um, and we haven't seen it, it hasn't been released yet. We just had a little bit of like some photo op stuff come out recently, but we're really looking forward to the doors it's going to open. We think it's going to be a really big opportunity for us to just have that on our resume as a TED Talk speaker. And, if it hadn't been for my assistant, Taylor, she's the one who did all the work. She just put all the
Hmm.
work in and getting me on those stages and still does today with some other stuff. But it was an amazing experience. Don't know if I want to do one again. But man, it, it was different for sure than what I'm
Well,
used to.
congratulations on it, man. I mean, congratulations on it. So let's jump into the breakthrough moment, man, if you don't mind. I'm super interested in because you have such an incredible, and that's such a like perfect word for you. You have an incredible life, and I'm very curious about the single moment that you had, and it could have been like leaving the corporate sales role or this TED talk or something that what happened in your life that forced you to transform your life and pursue coaching. What was that breakthrough moment for you?
Well, in July of 2020, my son CJ was born, and 18 hours later, he passed away. And for the next 8 months, I was in the darkest place you could imagine.
Mhm.
I'm not a drinker, but boy, I'm an eater. So I ate everything in sight. I had for the next 8 months, I didn't go to work for about 2 months after that. I was a shell of myself. My wife and I, we just, this, you can only imagine, right, what we went through. And right in the middle of COVID, so no one could, it was just, everything was shut down still, right? No one could come to the hospital and be with us. None of those things could happen. And so we were on our own, battling our own demons through this, while everybody else was trying to stay alive and fight COVID. So it was just this crazy amount of stress going on. And March of 21, I was sitting on my back lanai and I opened up my journal, and I had this journal where I used to write all the things I was going to do with my son. I have 2 daughters, and all the things I was going to do with my son. I wrote all these things out, right? We're going to do this and that. And we're going to go to every Major League Baseball park and like all these things, right? I started reading them, and I hadn't touched it since he had passed away. So I'm reading them. And at the top of one of the pages, it said, call Bill Hart. Well, Bill Hart was my coach for a long time when I was an originator.
Hmm.
And so I called Bill on a Sunday afternoon, and I said, Bill, I need you back in my life, man. Are you taking on any new clients? So Bill said, I'm not taking on new clients, but if Chris Welton calls, I'm going to take him on. So I started working with Bill again, and it really got me centered for some reality checks on some things that I wanted to maybe do later in life, other than just the corporate world. We were all sucked into the next 18 months or 2 years after my son passed away into production. Like we just, we were just so much, like you just couldn't even breathe. It was 7 days a week, things were going on. But I was more critical of what I wanted to do next.
Hmm.
What did I want to do next? I don't want to be in this stress ball anymore. I don't want everybody to come to me and act like it's the end of the world when we have to extend a file and all the, like, I'm like, you guys don't know what pain is. You don't know what struggle is. You're worried about a rate lock. Like, so I got to this point where I was like, how can I be more impactful in the world? What can I do differently? So in October of 22, I wrote on my mirror in my bathroom that my drop date, my last day I was going to be in corporate America, was October 31st, 2023. And I was going to go build a coaching business and get on stages and share my story to help other people overcome adversity. And then I started working on it. And we were very successful in the mortgage space. I was very, we had a great company. Um, but I wanted to do something different, more impactful, touch more lives. I like I had enough support externally during my downtime. So I wanted to be that person for other people. And how could I do that? Well, how could I serve at a higher level? Well, maybe being on stages and sharing this story, right? And then in the coaching space, I love coaching. I love working with people. And I just started working on building my coaching business. In August of 23, I left corporate America 2 months before my goal. And it all stemmed from me looking back at my life and realizing how fragile life is. And I have a tattoo on my arm. I don't know if you can see that. It says CJ's watching. Um, I feel that he watches everything that I do, whether it's good or bad. So I better have my stuff together, and I want to make him proud every day. So how else could I do that besides just making money? I've made plenty of money in my lifetime. So how could I help other people do that and overcome adversity? And then we just started seeking out mentors.
Hmm.
I started this strategy called One Jordan, where I send one Jordan shoe to somebody in a handwritten note, says, if you want the other shoe, give me a call. And we started creating mentors that way and connecting with people at a high level, and getting noticed. And like you said earlier, getting in rooms, um, and it just kept snowballing. And that's when we wrote the book. And about 6 months ago, it became an international bestseller in 13 countries. And, that's a whole nother story we could go on. But I believe the breakthrough point there was um, realizing that I had a lot more to do in this world than what I was doing after I lost my son. Um, one of the greatest things that's happened to us since then is December of 23, a little boy, Leo, was born. And he's almost 2, and he is the best thing ever. And, I work remotely from my home. My wife's at her medical practice 3 days a week. So when she's at practice with patients, we have a nanny here. and I could hear him playing. And today he's not here because he's out there at the park with my wife, but normally he'll come knock on the door and want to come in and hang out. So he's on podcasts with me all the time.
Mhm.
But man, I appreciate him and love him so much. And, I really feel like I told you earlier, I turned 53 yesterday, and, I feel like I got another 50 in me at least.
You do, I mean, when you think about how much we focus on our health in a way that, people, 20 years ago, 30 years ago didn't have the opportunity, there being a gym on every corner. And then you're a guy who has successfully completed, 75 hard 3 times now. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm 50 this year, and I think, yeah, my goal is to, I'm thinking 120. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's gonna happen, but I mean, I think we're gonna live a lot longer than we did. But man, your story, it really hit home. I was listening to you have a podcast. I'm gonna look at my notes really quickly. You have a podcast. It's episode 6 of your Freestyle Fridays, and you talked about how you lost your son and your nephew um, in 2020, and I can't even like imagine the depth of despair and grief that you've lived through. And so the fact that you've had an opportunity to take that and, let it be the driver of what you are now accomplishing with helping other people and getting on stages and writing books, and you have a podcast. And I was listening to that podcast, and it felt like you and I were in the same room together talking. And it was like a therapy session, if you will. So for those of you that are listening, go find the podcast. It's episode 6, Freestyle Fridays, Chris Welton. And it's just a really good opportunity to get to know who you are on a really raw level. But I got to thank you, man, for sharing that story with the world and being willing to give us that, because up until today and up until I heard that episode, I didn't know about the loss that
yeah,
you've lived through. So thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
So
I feel like I have a responsibility, Chris. I feel I have a responsibility to help other people that have gone through the same thing. And,
Mhm.
there's I have a lot of lessons I've learned over my life. And if you've heard some of my other stuff, the craziness I had as a child and growing up the way I did. But I am at a spot in my life where giving back it's I just think it's a calling, you know, for what I need to be doing.
Well, dude, let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
You were born with a limb difference,
Mhm.
and you
Yep.
grew up as a son of a drug addict. And I'm s- I couldn't imagine. And by the way, I think there's a cause and effect there as well, which you can share if you want. But I'm more curious about the early experiences that shaped your life in, taking you and I have been in rooms together with Chris Doe, and Chris talked about, the one thing that you're ashamed of or that is holding you back, and how do you take that and make that your superpower. And I look
Yeah.
right over at you. You and I were at the same table in that
Yeah.
room
So
that
next to each
morning.
other, I think. Yeah.
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 And it was like a morning session, I think. And I was like, I just thought about you because I was like, that I'm sitting right next to the person who's living, walking, but I didn't know the backstory about your mom and all that. So share a little bit about that story and how it's
Yeah.
transformed you in a way that's really like, I would imagine there's a lot of, a lot going on there. I mean, resentment, there's anger, but all that, how you've been able to fuel immense amount of success in your career.
Yeah. So the first thing I'd say is that, I get asked this question a lot. It's like, what would you change in life? Or what would just that kind of question from stage a lot from younger people. And here's the thing. Okay. The only thing I would ever go back and change in my life is if there was a way to make sure my son didn't pass away. Everything else I've been through, I was sent through for a reason to be who I am today to help other people. Now, it took me 4 decades to realize that. Okay. Into my 40s to realize that. And so my mom was a heroin addict and she did drugs when she was pregnant with me. And that's why I was born with a limb difference. But I was born very premature, just a lot of different things. And I've been a fighter since day one. Like I wasn't, I just kept getting through it. But I didn't know any different when mom would go to rehab and I'd get shipped to another family. It was just normal stuff. Like
Mhm.
you don't realize it, right? Until you're older and look back. But the number of times we had crazy things happen in my life that I look back on now, I'm like, oh man, God, that was really bad. Like when I was 14, I woke up Christmas morning and all our Christmas presents were gone. My mom she'd been in rehab, was doing well. And then Christmas Eve, she went off the rails and took all our Christmas presents and bought drugs. And my sister and I didn't see her for a week. So we were by ourselves for a week. Right. And it was not uncommon when she was doing drugs to be gone for 2 or 3 days at a time. That was just how it worked. Right. We knew how to take care of ourselves. Um, but I look back on those times now and um, it was a driving force for me to never do those types of drugs. First of all, never touched any of that stuff
Good.
because I see it. I saw what the repercussions were. I grew up in an area where you could have gotten anything you wanted, but it just, it, I never touched it because I saw how it destroyed my mom's life. And then also it affected myself and my little sister. So, but the resentment's over. The things have gone. My mom passed away in 2019. She had hepatitis and then got liver cancer and passed away when she was 2019. My mom would have been like 64 years old, 65 years old. So and then my crazy thing is my dad passed away like 6 months before that. Just did. But I don't have the resentment anymore. I saw her the last day she was alive. I flew out and saw her. I hadn't seen her in probably 15 years at that point, but I flew out to my sister's house and saw her. And that wasn't for her. That was for me. It was 100%
Mm.
for me. I didn't really know how she reacted. It
That's
was for me
smart. Yeah.
to get some type of closure there. I'm glad I did it. But, it's so when we talk about the things that we're embarrassed or ashamed of, I look back at my life as a kid and I spent a lot of time at my friend's house and, my friends in my neighborhood I grew up in this really cool neighborhood where everybody's playing wiffle ball, baseball, football all the time. Like there's like it looked like the Sandlot movie every weekend or every day in our neighborhood, just how it was. And I would stay at people's houses all the time. They were always offering me dinner and whatever. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know they knew. I didn't know they knew my mom was such a train wreck. Right. I just thought they were being kind, first of all, but I didn't understand that they knew. And the first time I really thought about sharing the story externally, besides with my spouse and some really close people to me, was in 2022, January 2022. I was in a room with a guy named Renee Rodriguez, and Renee helped me create my origin story.
Mm.
We went through several different things and to figure out what I needed to be speaking about and addressing people and how I could impact them and how powerful my story was. Um, and then I realized that it was no longer about hiding it. It was about accepting who I was and who I became from those things and making sure that people understood that they weren't alone if they were going through the same thing. So I embraced it. I did amplify 2 more times after that just to perfect the ability to tell a story and frame it the right way. And then I felt like I was on a mission, and I still do today, that it's time to help other people and embrace the things you went through when you were young, and know you were not alone. I mean, God, Chris, I could go on and on and on about the stories the stuff we went through. And I was leaving to go surfing one morning. It was like I was a junior high school. A buddy goes to pick me up, and he's like, "Hey," um, I'm like, "Come on in, Mogras. We'll eat some breakfast before you go." He goes, "No, man, I cut my car running." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Because there's a car running in the garage." I'm like, "What?" And I went in the garage. My mom had tried to kill herself. She got a hose run from the exhaust pipe and into the car. And so he moved his car and I opened the garage and I pulled my mom out into the front yard and I called 911, told him what's going on. And I hung up and I got in the car and I went and surfed all day. I left. I mean, I was in shock, obviously,
Mhm.
I mean, just when I just, but but those were just things that still to this day make me want to be a better father and a better friend and a better leader and a better husband. And um, because I've seen what it looks like. I've seen the bad, crazy side of drug addiction. I've seen what it does to people and mental illness. And like, I've been there. Okay. I mean, I've been there. And again, like I said a minute ago, it's my responsibility to help others navigate those turbulent times.
Hmm. I will just tell you, man. Again, every time I talk to you, I learn something new. But like you think about all these this adversity that somebody would walk through life feeling like a victim, and you use that as fuel to help you do things like coach other people, get up on stages and share your story. You invested probably thousands of dollars into coaching for yourself in order to give you the courage and the school and the skill set to get up on stage and tell your origin story. And Renee Rodriguez is probably the best in the business to be able to learn that piece from them. And then you went off to write a book, and I had no idea. Like, I remember I thought you were a lender when we first met. Um, and I realize now that you were, and you were operating on a big level. What was it like to the day that you went in to resign? And like, that because I would
Yeah.
imagine like that's right around a time when you know, I think we were living in a little bit of a golden age of speakers already and events, and we were just like getting information from Renee, from Neil, from these amazing people that were sharing information, and then everybody's trying to level up their business, and you're in a role that everybody wants to be at. Like everybody wants their week. If you're in lending, you want your weekends back. You want to lead people, and you were there and you're probably making a lot of money doing it. And then you say, okay, well, I have a bigger purpose in life. I'm stepping away. What was that like? What was that decision making like for you?
Yeah. I mean, so one of the reasons that I decided to make the move too is that I was at a point in my career where I felt like 10% of the people that worked for me wanted to be better, 90% wanted to check. And I was tired of the 90%. Um, and again, like I said, I wasn't going to leave until October of 23, but at forward in 23, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make this as soon as I get back on Monday, I'm telling them. And here
Mhm,
the tough part was this. So I was a partner there. Um, but the two guys that owned the company, um, one of them was a guy named Jason Purcell.
mhm,
Jason and I have been best friends since we were 8 years old.
mm,
And our dream was to build a company and do all these things. And I came to work for him in 2016. And then the CEO is Jason's cousin. And I've known him since I was probably 10 or 11. So, and they'd in 2010 or 2011, they started really wanting me to come there and come there and come there. And I was in Indiana at the time and I just wasn't ready to come back home to Florida. So we're in a meeting talking through some tough things that were happening inside the company, just some issues were going down.
It's 2023, brother.
Yeah. And they looked at me and they're like, hey, here's your rocks for the next quarter. And I said, well, here's the biggest rock of them all. I'm going to resign. And I said, I'll stay till the end of August. This was like, mid-July because that's when forward is. It was like the Monday after. So it was like July 15th or whatever. I said, I'll stay till the end of August. Well, Jason was heartbroken because I hadn't even told him yet. And then the CEO's main concern was, what company are you going to? Where are you going? Well, I had had conversations with other companies before I was going to leave and looked at maybe taking a regional position and some other stuff. And I was offered like crazy money to go do that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like just insane stuff. And I said, I'm not going to any company. I said, I'm going to build my own coaching company and, I'm going to invest in myself and I'm going to build something that I enjoy doing
Mhm.
and that I can get out of bed every day and know that what I put out in the world can come back to me. And, and that was it. Jason came to me like a week later and asked me to stay till the end of September. And I'm like, my wife actually wanted me to quit that day. So
Mm.
no, I'm good. Like I love you, brother, but that's it. But that part was, that was a tough part just because of the personal relationships.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And,
Yeah.
yeah. And the sad thing is we haven't been that close since then. It's just been a lot of turmoil, a lot of whatever, and it is what it is. And we separate from sometimes some close people sometimes, but then I think you come back later in life.
Mhm.
But we're just in just different trajectories now.
Well, dude, I mean, it's kind of I think for a lot of people who are influencers or have audiences, the idea and the ultimate goal is to do what you're doing. And I think you built a playbook. You're living the playbook on how you did it. Um, One of the coolest things that you created was this concept around. It's always hard for me to say this word reciprocity. Reciprocity. Am I saying that right? Where you give somebody something and without really knowing it forces them to wanna give back. And book One Jordan, talks about the story about how, you know, I was a door-to-door guy, and I used to say, "If you answer the door, I'm gonna get my foot in the door, and if I get my foot in the door, you're gonna buy from me." That was it, right? It's like, "I just need you to answer the door, then it's my job to get my foot in, and then once I'm in, you're gonna buy." And for you, you sent the shoe to get in the door, and now I need the other one. And so tell how you came up with this concept and how it turned itself into a book that's now, a bestseller and it has gotten you a lot of success and will continue to help you get on stages and just do some amazing things. But this concept, and by the way, you didn't just pick a shitty shoe, you picked the Jordan. You know what I mean? So
Well,
talk about
you've
that.
seen me. You've seen me. All I wear is Jordans. If I turn the
Yeah.
camera around, you go, "Why do you have so many shoes?" Um, so I was scrolling through TikTok. This is how it just started. I was scrolling through TikTok, and Bradley's on there, and he said, "If you want to connect with somebody, send them one Jordan shoe and a handwritten note, and this and that and da da." Da." I'm like,
Hold
"Oh,
on, stop. Stop. I gotta stop you there. Sorry. That's the difference, right? Like everybody would have heard that and said, well, that's not a novel idea. You were like, no, no one's executing. I'm going to fucking execute on this. And then you wrote a book on it. Like, so amazing.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt you, but keep going. But I love that.
no, 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 it's okay." Yeah. So I was like, "God, that I love that because I used to do this thing that Todd Duncan taught me like in 2005, where I would send the Time Traps book and a
Time
handwritten
traps
note and a $20 bill. Right? You remember that?
always.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I got him. I don't, you don't have no idea how many books I bought from him signed so I can do just that.
Yeah. I mean, I got some really good high end realtor and builder accounts from doing that with the $20 bill. So I was like, I know it works. Well, let me do this. And I was like, okay, who do I want to connect with first? And I'm like coming up with my list. And the first person I sent a shoe to was a guy named Damon West.
Hmm.
Damon West booked the Coffee Bean. And I DM'd Damon and I said, "Hey, I see you wear Jordans, like Jordans, whatever." And he said he likes the Jordan threes. So I sent him a note and the shoe, bought him the shoe and sent the note, and off it went. Um, it took a while for him to respond, and I kept following up with him. And he's like, "Oh, I don't check that PO box very often." And then so he checks it finally. He calls me. He's like, "Dude, that's the craziest thing anybody's ever sent me." I'm really good friends with Damon now. Like we talk all the time. I actually talked to him yesterday. And but so I was like, okay, well that worked. Who's next? Like Ben Newman. Ben Newman. He's like I just love Ben. So I send Ben a shoe. I get a text message from a Missouri number. It says picture of my letter. And he says, okay. And he goes, "Okay, Welton, you got my attention. I'll do a
Yeah.
call with you on December 26th at 11 a.m. I'm like, okay, great. So I do a call with Ben Newman. You can see the shoe behind me. You see the red one blurred above
Yep.
my head, the red and black one. See that?
Yep.
So that's the shoe, one of the shoes I sent Ben. He signed it all for me and sent one of the shoes back to me. So Ben and I are super close. Literally, he texts me during this call about something. I don't know what it is, but he just texts me. So I talk to Ben all the time. He's become one of my coaches and mentors through that. So I kept going with this list and just reaching out to people. And I was like 6 or 7-0 on people responding. Then I got my first rejection.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was like, "How dare you? I'm Chris Welton, one Jordan. Don't you know
But
who I
they
am?" Like,
legit rejected or they just didn't respond?
no, I got a message that said, "What's your home address? We want to send the shoe back to you."
Really?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, the amount of work that that takes to do is just like a is an ultimate F you, but
Well, wait
let's
till I
hear the
tell you who
story.
it
Yeah,
was.
let's hear the
Wait till I
story.
tell you who it was. So I'm super offended, right? I'm like, "How dare you?" Coming from a place of straight ego, like, who am I? I like, in the big scheme of things.
With yeah, because it's worked
So
also up until now.
yeah, yeah. So I finally got them to agree to do a call with me, though. Said he'd do a 10-minute call with me. So he sends a shoe back. So I do a 10-minute call with a guy named Dan Martell. That's who it was.
I can't believe
So
you said no, by the way. I love
yeah,
Dan
yeah.
Martell.
So there's a good chapter in my book about Dan Martell.
Okay, good, yeah.
And it was one of my funnest chapters to write because after I got over the ego crushing from my man Dan, I realized that what he did was exactly who he says he is. And so I see Dan at events and we talk all the time when I see him and stuff. He's super cordial to me now and he'll yell, "Hey, one Jordan," like when we were at Forward. And I mean,
Okay,
like,
alright.
I've been able to build some kind of a relationship there, to have conversations with him, but he sent the shoe back, which was fine. I'm glad he sent it back because it was a common size and I just used it again. Right. And, but a couple people never responded. Lewis Howes was kind of a jerk. He sent the shoe back and was real cold. That's okay. I found this is who he is. Ed
Mhm.
Milet never responded. And I know they got the shoe because I talked to his sister. So when they don't respond, I wait about 2 weeks. And since my book was out after that, I send the copy of the book and the other shoe.
That's it. That's
And
it.
I did that with a guy named Tarek El Musso. You know who Tarek El
Yeah,
Musso is?
yeah.
So I sent the shoe to Tarek. They responded. They're going to do a call. Then they ghosted me and said the publicist didn't want them to do it, come on my podcast or anything else. I said, that's fine. So I sent the shoe in a handwritten note. He called me on my cell phone personally. He said, "Chris, I'll do your podcast." Like, great. So we got Tarek El Musso on. But the biggest one of
Did
them
you ever
all, the
send it to
thing that
Brad Lee?
no, I tried to do it, send to Bradley. He told me not to send him a shoe. It was just, here's the thing about me and Bradley. We're like oil and water. And I don't know why. I respect him and love conversation, but he is always a dick to me,
It
Chris.
really
Like
he's super dude, one
always.
time, so he's in Vegas, right, obviously,
Yeah.
and, I met with him one day, and then, I asked if I could meet with him, like, 10 minutes. I think I DM'd him, and he was like, "Yeah." He met with me for, like, an hour and a half, and, like, was the nicest guy. He was like, "I'm gonna build your brand," like, he and so I really thought, like you, he was gonna be a dick, but he was like the and then they sent me the record like, he had a guy in the room filming the whole thing. They sent it to me so I can get content, but they were super sweet to me, and I'm so surprised, but that's a weird thing.
I don't know why. I'm not sure, but it is what, sometimes you just don't gel with people.
Yeah, I feel you.
But the biggest one of them all is when I sent a shoe to a guy named John Maxwell.
Mm.
And John Maxwell called me on my cell phone, and I didn't answer the call because it was a call from West Palm, Florida. I thought they wanted to talk about car warranty, and then I called him back, and we had a great conversation. And um, I gave a keynote last year, and John Maxwell was on stage after me. I came off stage, gave me a big hug, and we hung out afterwards. I've seen him at other places. Every time I see him, he's like, I was in Atlanta at an event sitting in the front row where he's speaking. He saw me in the crowd and he's like, "Hey, I need to tell you a story about this." He literally wrote a whole keynote about called "Getting Out of the People Pile."
Mhm.
And he wrote it about me. When the first time he ever did it, I wasn't there, and he started presenting it. And people are DMing me from all over the country saying, "Hey, John Maxwell's on stage talking about you right now." So I've built a relationship with John, and I could text John right now and he'd respond. And in my opinion, what I do for a living now, he's the GOAT. He's the best there's ever
Mhm. Oh,
been when it comes
absolutely, yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
and just a very a great gentleman. But last time I saw him, he told me that he's got his office. It looks kind of like a museum. And in the office, he's got one of the Jordans sitting there. And he's like, the other day, Tim Cook was over the house and we're walking through the office and I showed him and he asked me what the shoe was and I told him about it. He thought it was the craziest thing he'd ever heard. So John Maxwell sharing the story to these billionaire executives that come to his house, right?
Are
Like,
you sending it to Tim Cook?
no, I didn't send one to Tim
No, I'm
Cook.
saying you know, how do you send it to Tim Cook? But you should.
Get to Tim Cook, right? But but the crazy thing is how well that's connected me with people and got me into other rooms and open doors. And like anytime you see Ben now, he just changed this the other day because he's now working with two football teams. But before that, if you look at videos from the last 2 years and he had Ben stuff, my one Jordan I sent him is sitting behind his head,
I love
like
that.
on the
Yeah.
right. And what that book has done, as far as even just the strategy, what it's done to get me into rooms and meet people, just compress time. And that's what it's about. Like you have to figure out a way to compress time and leverage relationships to get where that next step is where you want to go in life. And this has been a game changer, what it's done for me. And the cool thing is I have a couple of my VIP one-on-one clients. One of them's a young guy out in Virginia. And in the last 2 weeks, he's sent one shoe to two different people. They're not Jordans, but he sent a Hoka to a guy that runs, and another guy who's a Virginia Tech guy sent him a Virginia Tech Nike. They just released one of those. And he got meetings with both these people that he would have never gotten meetings before because he sent the shoe. And these people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you sent me a shoe. Right. So it opened the door for that. And um, the other one too, probably that really has been great, and I've had a good relationship, is a guy named a guy whose name's Michael Burt. Goes by Coach Burt, Coach
Yep.
Michael Burt.
Yeah.
He's out of
Coach
Nashville,
Burt.
Tennessee, and I
I
built a
I
relationship.
actually think he coaches Brad Lee as well. I think
They work together on some stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, they do some joint stuff. Um, but Coach Burt and I, we hit it off. You know, like he last time I saw him speak, he comes off stage, he's like, Chris, come here. I need you to tell me my difference between that keynote I just gave and the one you saw with Ben recently. I want to compare to Ben Newman. I said, oh, coach. He got a little offended that, but I was like, you need to go watch Ben speak. Like,
Yeah.
that's the difference. You got to watch Ben speak. Ben's a little more charismatic than you are, coach. And he's a little more really good at storytelling on his past. And I'm like, you talk about it a little bit, coach. You were raised a single parent, single mom. You need to lean on that a little more because that makes you more relatable. But anyways, that's a whole nother track we could get on there. But yeah, no, the One Jordan deal has been awesome for me. And our new book we're working on right now will be out hopefully in January. And Chris, I think the book that's gonna come out in January is gonna be I think it's gonna be a lack of a better a banger. I think it's gonna
There you
be
go.
like just like like what we're doing. And I have these it's a lot of it's wrapped around what we did at the for the TED Talk.
Mhm.
I have these three different strategies to get through adversity, and it's going to have a lot of my personal stories in there and how I framed those personal stories and how I use these strategies to get through it. I've done a lot of research myself, going back historically, my mind on what I did to get through these things. And then I'm also leaning into a lot of people like Ryan Holiday and some other people to help understand adversity a little bit more on a bigger scale. But I really feel it's going to be a powerful book.
When you're doing a speech, do you use a very specific framework every time, or does that change each time?
It changes. I mean, it really depends on the messaging that they want you to deliver, right? What's the topic? What's the event? What's the topic of the event or the theme? And then I can take hardship and adversity and kind of tie it into just about any message, right? Um, so no, I don't have like one certain way to do it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm really good at mapping those things out just from what Renee's taught me, and then putting together some good PowerPoint stuff and then taking it from there.
Very cool. Well, so you built a very memorable brand, leaning into, your physicality, and which is like, it's a really strange thing because you can't be missed when you walk into a room. You're a big dude.
Yeah.
We were at Forward, like, you were like, "Don't worry, we'll get through."
Just follow me. Just follow me. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. People get in the way. Yeah.
And, no, man, but you've done some amazing things with your brand. It's very memorable. You're a very memorable person.
Thank you.
But for somebody who is, like, building out their brand and who is starting off right now, and they realize that their reputation is important to the business. But if they're in lending or real estate or whatever, and they feel like they have no voice, what would be some of the things that you would coach them on in getting that confidence to get out there and tell their story and build that brand?
Yeah, I mean, it's defining what your origin story is first.
Mhm,
Like, you really need to figure out what that is, and then figure out the reason you're doing the job you're doing.
mhm.
Is it passion, reason? Is it driven because of this? Whatever that is, and then that needs to be part of who you are and your brand. Like, I'm not Chris Do. Chris Do's a genius. But what I can tell you is, if I scroll through all the lenders that I follow on Instagram, they all look the same. Everybody's doing the same thing, but the ones that aren't seem to be the ones that are more successful. So
Mm.
don't be afraid to be who you are and be yourself. And man, share the L's, share the losses, man. Like, everybody wants to share the wins, right? But the losses are the ones we learn from, right? The losses make us more relatable to people. Like, if I get on there and and I'm very blessed, Chris. I coach some of the highest producing originators in the country. Like, I've got a couple guys that are already over 100 million this year. I got one guy that could probably get to 200 million this year. And I have a handful of guys that are going to get to 100 million this year. Like, that's the people that I have that I'm working with. The the difference with those guys is they're all unique in their strategies and what they do. Like, we do a mastermind, so all my VIP clients are part of a mastermind call we do once a month, and nobody's the same on this call. Like, nobody's cookie cutter, did this, did that, and nothing against cookie cutter coaching companies. If that works for you, great. But if you're focused, I if I don't design something specifically for you, maybe you're not going to get to the level you want to get to. And be unique, be yourself. Like, stop trying to be everybody else,
Well, I think a
and
lot of people make that mistake. They're like, okay, all the content that I see, 90% of lenders who are producing content, it's all the same. I have to do that if I want to be known. But and I think Chris had a really good tagline for it. He's like, most people have a personal bland, not a personal brand. And I
yeah,
think
I
that's
love that.
the thing. But how do you coach somebody into really looking deep to say, go different? And you did this. You took one thing that maybe might have held you back, but became your superpower, and that's literally your Instagram handle.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tell people your Instagram handle because I haven't
So
mentioned
my
it yet.
Instagram handle's one hand at a time. I got that years ago when Instagram first started, because you would never get it today, just because of it means so many different things in the space. But um, look, I think what it comes down to on trying to be original and be yourself and we spent our whole childhood and our high school and maybe some of our college years trying to not be different,
Mhm.
right? Like, you were taught difference weird, difference this, it's that. Like, you got to be like everybody else, got to have the same jacket. And I went to Catholic school, so it didn't matter what I wore. We all had to wear the same great flat fronted pants and the white shirt. But as a general situation, most people are trying to be part of the group, right?
Mhm.
And then when you become an adult, being different is what wins. I'll give you a personal story. So I had two failed marriages before the age of 37, 38 years old, because I settled for people that weren't who I probably should have gone after. So then I decided I was going to go after somebody that was out of my reach. And I did. I asked this woman on a date who happened to be I was a patient of hers, and she said, "Yeah, I'd love to go on a date with you." Well, that was 13 years ago, and we've had two children. We've been married since 2017, and she's so far out of my league. Like, it'd be like the Colts calling today and saying, "Hey, Chris, we know you played high school football and you're 53, but we needed linebacker. Can you come play today?" Like, it would be that crazy, right? But she liked me because I was different.
Mm.
She liked me because I wasn't like everybody else trying to impress everybody and do everything. I stood out because I was different. Now,
Mhm.
for me, that's easy to do. I'm 6'5" and I have one arm. So you're right. I do stand out a little bit, but I embrace being different. And everybody has their things. Embrace your difference. right? Embrace who you are, man, and go after that to create your brand. I'm not, again, not a brand specialist by any means. Uh, I learned how to build a brand the hard way. I never paid anybody to do it. We just kind of went after it and did it. And, um, but mine's about being unique and different.
Well, you are. I mean, I think everybody is. But I think you've also put yourself in rooms. You know, you went to Renee's deal three, what you said, three times?
Yeah, 3 times. And then I was also part of his mastermind that he did.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
so, you know, that really pushes you to nail down, you know, that origin story. But let me ask you that, like investing in yourself, Chris, and investing thousands of dollars into um your growth. Do you feel like that's been money well spent? Do you feel like it's paid back in you know, in spades? How has that worked for you?
some of it, some of it is. I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you. In the last 3 years, I've invested almost $250,000 in myself.
You've invested $250,000 into yourself.
Huh? Yeah. Yep. From coaching, from masterminds, events, what it costs to publish your own book, like all these different things. Um, and what I realized is that I'm more of a person like I prefer to go to an event. Like I wish Ford was in Iowa City. Like I don't need it to be in Vegas. You don't
Mhm,
need it to be in Vegas to get me to come there.
mhm,
So what I learned is I stopped going to these events that had all this extra fluff and stuff to it. I don't I don't need to go spend time with these other people and do all these things.
mhm.
I want to go learn and put it in place. So that part, no, was not worth the money. I spent a lot of money to go to these elite, crazy events. Now I met some great people and stuff, but for me, that doesn't move the needle for me. Right. And I know for a lot of people it does. This is me knocking anybody's event. So go do your events and kill it.
Mhm.
But I learned that those events aren't for me. Right. Going doing the going to Forward's my best event I love to go to every year. I always go VIP. You know why I go VIP at Forward? Because I get to sit with you and I get to sit
There
with
you go,
Brian
man.
Covey,
That's
right?
how
Like
we're on the call right now. Like, we were standing in line for, like, an
that's how I'm in
hour.
my
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So that has been 10x on what it's done for me. But other stuff I've gone to and events I've gone to where I thought I don't need all the hype. Like I got to that point now where I don't. But I have 2 coaches. You know, Ben Newman's one of my coaches, and then I have another coach. So I spend quite a bit of money in coaching. But the return on the investment's good. Yeah, I've made all my money back the last couple of years, and we're right now year to date we're up 92% over last year
Look at
in
you.
our in the business. So you
Congratulations.
know, thank you.
So do
I
you
had a
would
meeting.
would you advise people, like, "Hey, if you wanna do something extraordinary, invest in yourself." Do you would that be, you know, I
Yeah,
mean, you look at me like I'm crazy, but there's so many people who in this day and age not willing to shell out the money. Because they think it's not a good investment for them. But for me, it's like I want to invest in myself. Like I'd rather put the money there because I
yeah.
believe what I'm going to do.
Well, you do that, and you can tell by what you do, right? I can see you, and I watch you on social media, and the way you interact. You do that. You invest, and you get a return. But and
Hmm.
this isn't me ripping on you. But what Rolex do you have on right now? What watch you got?
I have the root beer.
Okay, so if you're on the fence thinking about buying a new Rolex, maybe you should invest that money in yourself first.
There you go.
That's all
There
I'm
you go.
saying. Like
Yeah.
I have nice watches too. I'm not knocking nice watches. I've got some nice stuff myself. Too many people go buy the Maserati and they
Hmm.
go buy the Rolex and they want to look the part, but they don't have the part in their head. If they would invest the money into somebody to help them get where they need to go, a Rolex isn't what they buy. They can buy a Patek Philippe and whatever. You know what I mean? Like it can just go on and on and on, right? So like and and I don't share that with anybody to beat up on them, but like one of my clients is 28 years old. He's the guy that's going to do close to 200 million this year. Yeah, he drives a Lamborghini. He does, but he makes a couple $100,000 a month, right? But he didn't drive a Lamborghini when he started, right? He drove a Mazda Miata. So
Hmm.
don't get ahead of yourself investing in the wrong things,
Hmm.
right? And don't try to. There's so many opportunities out. And here's the other thing too, though. If you're going to hire a coach, do the research on them, find out who they're coached by,
Mm-hmm.
because too many times you're going to go hire a coach. Oh, I'm not coached anymore. Okay. Well, that's not, that, I don't even know how that works. But like, make sure you do the research, invest back in yourself, and you'll be surprised what you get, because you know this. We do this every day. The biggest gap in the mortgage space right now is leadership. There's not a lot of good
Biggest
leadership in the
gap.
mortgage
Biggest
space,
gap. Yeah.
and they're not doing what they need to do to serve the younger people to help them grow their businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and then they fail, right? So like, why not? And you don't have to go pay for a coach if you can't afford it yet. You can go on YouTube and follow people. There's podcasts, you can buy books, but take action with what you have and go after it. Like, that's the difference. The guys that are winning on a high level that I work with, they take action. When we get on a call and I say, I got all your action plans yesterday, you got everything done. Yep. Or why didn't we get this one action plan done? Well, here's why. Okay. Like, they get the work, they do the work. They make it happen. And I don't care what market it's in. I was in the middle of the mortgage implosion when I was originating. I still closed a ton of loans,
Mm-hmm.
because there's always business to be had. Stop buying into all the propaganda that business is bad and it's everything else. I'm telling you, people are winning on a really high level right now, making more money than they ever have, because they've pivoted, adjusted, they're doing more work. Like, I've got one guy that I coach, all he does is non-QM business. That's it. All non-QM. And he does 8 to 10 million a month in
Dude,
non-QM business.
there's a dude on TikTok. He just does lives on DSCR. There's thousands of people asking questions. I'm like, this dude's just rack bleeds every night. Like, and I open up like the most random times, and he's there on a live talking about just answering questions, talking about DSCR, one product. And you know that's not the only product he's selling, but the gateway to getting people's attention. And he's calling it a DSCR loan, like, So it is pretty insane to see non QM come back in a way that, and people leaning into it and winning. So you're exactly right on that. Chris, what
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing, real quick on that. We'll go most else, but here's most what people mistake they most make in the non-QM space is that they use it as an alternative when they can't get it done conventionally or FHA.
Mm.
That that's not what it's there for. It's there for you to be a professional and look at the structure first and go, oh, this needs to go non-QM. Because what happens is your customer or client gets so mad at you because now you're turning their loan down halfway through, and you say, oh, I got this non-QM product, the rate's a point higher, but it's this, this, and
it's an
this. They
afterthought.
tell you no. They tell you no, but then they go to the broker down the street and they do the loan with them.
Yeah.
Right. So get good at understanding what that product is up front and sell the right product up front. Like, I mean, people will pay. Look, here's the deal. You can go bank statement, business bank statement loan. It's a point and a quarter higher interest rate, but you don't have to pay $70,000 in federal withholding taxes this year. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. What does that sound like for you? Like, come on. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's an afterthought right now. It'll change, but it's an afterthought right now.
it
Um,
is.
question for you, because you coach. One of your main mechanisms of coaching is really holding people accountable. Um, how can listeners build a system to, track when their life is getting chaotic or they're getting off track? What do you recommend for somebody who is just, they want an accountability system?
Well, I mean, I think accountability all comes down to keeping promises to yourself first.
Mm.
And I think too many times we try to get external accountability in place and we're not holding up to our end of the deal and who we are. And I do this thing called the undefeated morning. I created it during COVID, and it's really easy to do if you'll do it. But for me, I'm a little bit outside the box. It doesn't have to be this, but before I get out of bed, I do a gratitude exercise, put my feet on the floor. I do some breathing exercises. I go down my stairs. I go in my garage and I sit in my cold plunge for 6 minutes. I get out.
Minutes.
6 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. 44 degrees. And I get out, come back inside, grab my cup of coffee, go sit in I have a Florida style room with all these windows overlooking the lake. And I sit there, I drink my cup of coffee, I journal, and I read in my book. And I've done any of that before I picked up my cell phone. I haven't
Big
touched
difference.
my phone yet.
Yeah, big difference.
And what happens is I've kept promises to myself and I get momentum, right? So if you're struggling with accountability, hold yourself accountable first And once you start holding yourself accountable to a high level, as far as little things, we call them stacking wins. You start stacking wins early and often, what you'll be able to do in a day will blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. And that's the baseline for me. That's how I win. I'm very routine driven. My wife laughs at me because I have such a strict routine in the mornings. But if I don't do it, I'm lost. Like if I have a 5 a.m. flight to catch, I'm up at 2 o'clock doing my routine.
Mm.
If not, I'm going to land. I'm going to be all disheveled. I'm not going to be ready to go on stage in 2 hours. Like I just not going to be able to do it. I would say that's the first thing. If you want accountability, start with yourself.
I love that. I love that. That's a really good point. Now, Chris, if somebody wants to coach with you or they want to know and learn more about you, um, talk to me about where they find you.
Yeah, there's two good places. First one is Instagram, which we talked about. I do answer my own DMs. I don't have a bot or anything doing that. It's me. I tried the AI and I had some weird conversations. It signed me up for some stuff. I mean, it was really weird. So like I respond to my DMs usually within a few hours. So that's at one hand at a time on Instagram. And then you can go to my website, which is Chris Welton. So ChrisWelton.live. And you can go on there and see everything that we do. A lot of the stuff we're working on is on there. You can book a call on there. Now you will get, if you come on there, I want to set a call with Chris, my assistant will reach out to you to make sure you're not trying to sell me something. So if you're trying to sell me something, you're not going to get through the barrier there. She protects me very well, but we can book a call on there and have more conversations about that. We have a window of those, a couple hours a week that are open for those types of calls. And the other thing is Coach Chris Welton on YouTube. We have a documentary. So we did 4 episodes last year, and we've done 5 or 6 so far this year. I have a camera guy with me wherever I go, and we film everything I'm doing. So there's a lot of cool stuff on there, a lot of great experiences we've had, and to give you more of an insight on who I am.
Man, I got to tell you, first off, massively impressed with your story. I'm massively impressed with you. You're my hero. You've accomplished
Thank you.
so many
Thanks,
things
Chris.
that I want to accomplish. You live a life where there's going to be things that get in the way of success, and that's just being human. But to see what you've accomplished 75 hard, just getting on stages, the TED Talk, the book, the next book, the podcast, you've been able to build a career outside of lending. And I'm proud of what you're doing, man. I'm proud that I've been able to, become friends with you. I hope this is a beginning of a long journey of friendship. But Chris, I want to thank you. And on behalf of myself and the listeners, on you taking the time to share your story and give us so many great, anecdotes to life, that this has been one of the most powerful, podcasts that I've done. And I appreciate you taking the time today, my friend.
Man, thank you so much for the kind words, Chris. It's my pleasure. I know we've been working on trying to get this together for a while, so I'm glad we got it done. Yeah, man, this is just proof that when you get in the right rooms, you can meet people that you want to be on the journey with, and that's how we met.
I love it, brother. And you are exactly right. Well, thank you. And, I appreciate this. And guys, if you're listening now and you like this podcast and you made it this far, just take a picture of it, put it on your Instagram, tag Chris and I. We'll make sure that we repost it. But we would love to get your interaction on this and give us some feedback. Anything that you can shoot with us in the DMs or, share with us in your stories. We would love. Like, subscribe. Thank you guys. And Chris, thank you. And have a great day, man.